He creates incredible videos about the creation process of games. He also makes music, art, games, code, costumes, and more. Phil Strahl is a self-proclaimed restless creative soul with a very special place for everything games in his heart. He's best known online as Pixel Prophecy, where he creates videos and documentaries about his process of making games in game jams. His unique videos have high production values, where some of his videos took more than 400 hours of work. In my opinion, Phil is a creative mastermind. Phil, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here in this podcast today.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Can you give us a quick introduction about yourself?
I will try. Hi, I'm Phil, and some people know me online as Pixel Prophecy, and I just enjoy making games, playing games, and also making videos about making games. Yeah, and just being creative in all sorts of ways whenever I get the time. And yeah, I'm trying to make even more time for this kind of creative stuff.
I see you are currently living in Austria, right?
Yes, that's correct. Austria, Salzburg right now. So yeah, in the heart of Europe. And sometimes it feels a bit isolated in terms of the entire game dev community, but maybe that's probably just me, and I haven't found many people locally around, because I'm sure there are many more.
Just a question first before we move on. Is it Phil Strahl or Phil Strahl? How do you pronounce your name?
In German, it's Phil Strahl,
Okay,
but Phil Strahl is very no worries about that, because my name is can be a bit treacherous, because with German it's the Str, and that's hard for some people. So Phil Strahl or just Pixel.
Pixel. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Like, what's the difference between your personal Phil Strahl and Pixel Prophecy? Is it just like your studio name or just a project name?
Yeah, it first started out as just some online name that I used for, I think, visual effects stuff, because I'm also doing visual effects, and I never really used it for anything much, only had the Twitter handle. And then I realized when I was making videos and also games, I needed a name. And Pixel Prophecy, it doesn't mean a lot. I just liked the sound of it and how it felt when you said it. And I thought, it has this weird air of mystery prophecy. That's weird. I like that. I will take that. But it's not my alternative nickname or anything. Just call me Phil.
And do you work with the Pixel Prophecy and games full time, or is it a hobby project?
It started out as one of many little hobbies, and once I started making game jams and videos about it, it evolved into this bigger kind of side job, as I call it, because I work full time, and this entire games and creative thing bubble is pretty much everything of my free time. And sometimes it takes a little bit overhand and bleeds into my actual work, and then I'm not getting my work done. So I'm still trying to find the right balance.
May I ask you, in your day job, do you also do things related to game development or even technology? Like, what is your main area?
It has nothing to do with games. Maybe this is why I'm so drawn to games. I work as a colorist. This is sometimes hard to explain, because first people go, "Oh, you make hair colors," and I say no. Then colorist, "Oh, you color in comics," and I say no. So I'm a digital video and film colorist. So I make, essentially my job is to take what comes from different cameras and make them look nice, make them look coherent, create a look, and also iron out any things that went wrong, exposure, something like that. And because I'm in a big media production, I also get exposed to world-class editors and sound editors and everything. And this is a huge inspiration to me for my game videos, because I know what the people I work with are capable of. And I try to take what I can learn from them, all the tricks, into my own projects.
That explains a lot of things regarding our videos and things I would ask you later. That's why. And you are so good with the video grading and things like that.
Oh, thank you.
When and how did you start making games?
I think I got the itch to try making games myself was way back when my neighbor introduced me to his Commodore 64, and also you had BASIC on the Commodore 64. And he told me, yeah, you can write input, what is your name? And then you can input your name and the computer will respond with your name. And I thought, oh my God, this is amazing. And then he told me, yeah, this is basically how games are made. And I was just hooked. But I didn't have a computer back then, only my neighbor's Commodore 64, and I played all the great Commodore 64 games, and I don't think he ever paid for one of them, but I played summer games, Genesis, winter games, I think Impossible Mission, and yeah, the list goes on. And I really thought, how is it possible to make something from 10 print, what is your name, into as magnificent as summer games? And a couple of years later, a friend of my mom got a notebook with DOS, and it also had Quick Basic on it. And I thought, all right, now I can move the cursor between the lines that I'm writing code. So this is going to be so much easier. And I got my start with Quick Basic, and I still have found some of my old programs, and I thought that I had some choose your own adventure. So, okay, you're here, you see this, where do you want to go? North, east, west, right? And now that I played some of my old games, none of them really are games in a sense, because everything is super linear, because with go to and go sub statements, I wasn't very good. And so I realized it's mostly what I did was just ASCII animation. Because once I figured out that when you use the musical pause function and not just wait for, I don't know, let I equals 0 to 1000, so let the computer just count to 1000. That is not going to work once you get a better computer, because everything is super fast. So I think it started out with, I was trying to make games, and then I made animations with ASCII art, but still never lost this urge to make games. I drew with my childhood friend, we drew F-Zero maps on paper and had our own cars. And even I drew screenshots of games that I liked. And this was something that no other kid was doing. So it was always this creative thing with games, being inspired by games. And really making games started when I first got my hands on Blitz Basic for Windows. Or no, even before that, there was this program called Click and Play, where I think nowadays it's Multimedia Fusion, but the grandfather of Multimedia Fusion was Click and Play on Windows 3.1. And it was a bit like Game Maker, where you had drag and drop. You didn't have to program. You all could do things by drag and drop actions. So if this object collides with that one, what do you want to do? I want to play that sound, and you just drop it in there. And from this, you could construct your own games. And I was obsessed with this, because I didn't have to program, because from my basic projects, I wasn't that good at programming. Everything was super linear. And the big turning point came, I think, when I started to look into Game Maker, because the years before, I always tried to make something with games, but it never really got anywhere apart from a prototype or something. Because, like I said, I never learned how to program properly, and which still haunts me to this day. So yeah, everything is self-taught, and if you look at my code, you can clearly see it, I fear. But with Game Maker, this was in 2013, 2014, where I really thought, okay, now with Game Maker, it's another time where I try to make a game and it's going to go nowhere, because after 2 days, the initial spark wears off and then I get distracted and do something else. No, I set myself the goal, 2 weeks only Game Maker, and I really try to get good at it. And I start out with the drag and drop, but also look into coding. And this first prototype, this game that I made, is still somewhere up on, I think, IndieDB. It's called Luftwiderstand, and it was heavily inspired by Luftrausers. And the good thing about this is it was some sort of a game. You could shoot, you could die, it had a main menu, you could level up. And at a certain point, I lost interest. But then I realized, okay, it's really possible for me now to actually make games. because once I don't know how to program a certain aspect, I can use just the drag and drop function in GameMaker. And the better I got with GameMaker, the less and less I used the drag and drop functions. And in the end, it was just all code. So for me, this was just perfect to ease me into the mindset of programming from just, drag, drop, click, action.
Nice, that's quite a story. Like, and so you basically start programming, not like you didn't even start like drawing. Went right away by programming, right? I think this is a similar story to many game developers, and even for me, I started programming when I was 8 as well, just to make games. So everything you said, I'll say, okay, I lived through that as well. So it's really cool. And then I find it really interesting that like you started programming very early, and your career is a colorist. Like it's not. Was there a time like when it was the time that like you saw, okay, you're working with movies or colorists, or what we do currently, and how did you move away from programming, for example?
Yeah, programming and making games was always this side thing that I was super interested in, but it never. I knew that I never really would become a proper programmer or game designer because I just wasn't that good, and I knew I wouldn't get very good. The other interest that I had was always computer animation, graphics, and also film. And I think I got my first copy of 3D Studio Max back in 2000, and I was just amazed what you could do. In the first days, I just made a snow particle system because the snow looked so good in there, and really just gradually learned how to texture, lighting, and that stuff. And I'm also very interested in photography. I also have a photographer's what do you call it, an education in photography. So, and this fed into the visual arts. So, okay, so this is how light behaves in the real world. How can I make this with very simple lighting in 3D Studio Max? How can I make it look more real, more interesting? And from this side of visual effects, I also studied 3D animation and visual effects, and even worked at a visual effects house for half a year, not long. And then at this visual effects house, I realized that I wasn't bad at visual effects. It was just all the other people were so much better and so much more into details. And I thought, yeah, but it looks nice overall. And why do you want to tweak how this little grain at the very edge behaves that you never really see? That some people, of course, were obsessed with that, as some people are obsessed with their code or their games, that every little thing has to be perfect. And to me, it was always, but the shot overall doesn't look nice. The colors are clashing. It looks off balance. You don't know where to look at. And I realized that with color grading, it's a different mindset. It's more like photography. You also look where light is falling and how light behaves, and where a certain color comes from or what causes a certain color on one hand. On the other hand, it's also super technical with cameras and image sensors, and how optics and physics work to create an image, and how this gets turned to a computer image with compression and electro-optical transfer functions and all this. So it was the perfect combination for me, because it blended this one hand, this super artistic, soft interest of photography and light and making an image look nice, but also this very hard and technical aspect where you could just take long journeys into the rabbit hole of how certain compression techniques work, or what a camera actually does. So you could go in either direction. Everything benefits the end outcome. And what's also great about color grading is you work on a per shot basis. So essentially the film is finished. As with visual effects, you don't know how long it will take you. This shot where just a train crashes into a house and you have to model the house, do the physics simulation, the smoke plumes, you work 3 weeks or even 3 months on this one shot that just takes 3 seconds. With color grading, you know, okay, this shot is probably going to take me 5 to 10 minutes and this one 30 seconds, because it's the same shot essentially. So it was, I need this gratification that ironically is not on par with programming, because with color grading, you get it's more like playing a game that's well designed. You get rewarded very early. When you do a good job, you get reward, move on to the next, you get a reward, you're done. With programming, it's like 90% of the time, things are not working. And that's when you're being generous. So those 10% or even 5%, when finally it's working, have to motivate you for the next 99% where it's not working. And interestingly, I also enjoy programming since I've learned to program through GameMaker. Essentially, I've come to enjoy this process of, okay, finally I got it to work. The cool thing is now this is working. I can set it aside, and now I can build on top of what I already got. And from there, this is, I think, to me, what really where the joy and the motivation comes from. Yeah, just programming. Hope this answered the question.
Yes.
In the end, I just went
that's
off the
very
rails.
clear. That's very clear. From your videos, I can see you also make music, and you have all the bells and whistles, equipments to make music, right? When did you start making music then?
It's a bit the same with making games.
Same with making.
I enjoyed making music, and I started out with, I think, a lot of school children in Austria in the early 90s just playing the recorder. So I was sent on recorder sessions, and there I learned just the scale of the notes, and that was it. And for some reason, I never really stopped with music. Other people just learn the recorder, and then after 2 years, they move to the next school, and it's done for them. And I always wanted a piano, and my mother said, we can't afford piano lessons for you. And also my mom knew that if I took piano lessons after 2 weeks, I would be bored of them. So we didn't get a piano. But from the neighbor kid, they borrowed me their musical keyboard. And it was just amazing to me that you could play on this keyboard, and it had all the instruments. And also, just like with programming, I never learned it anywhere. It was just everything self-taught. So with this musical keyboard down, I realized that there was this thing called MIDI, where you have music that you can put into a computer and vice versa. And it was, oh my God, you can also do music with computers? This is amazing. And from there, the next one, my parents, they were so poor because I really wanted a MIDI keyboard for Christmas. And from my grandfather, I got a MIDI keyboard for Christmas. And then I had to find software that was MIDI capable. And from there, now I can manipulate everything that I did wrong. This is great. So I don't have to be good at music. I can, if I just invest the time, I can make it sound great. And this was also over 20, oh my God, yeah, over 20 years ago. And I recall gifting myself, I think it was to my 17th birthday, I gifted myself an electric guitar. And then I realized you probably need an amplifier to stick it into, because otherwise it doesn't sound like an electric guitar. So you can see from this, everything was self-taught and all the mistakes that I made. So why doesn't it sound like an electric guitar? I mean, of course, it's obvious. And from that, again, just like with making games, it was something that I never really could let go, and just toyed around, made music essentially just for the desk drawer, as we say it, where you just make something, put it in a drawer, and that's it. You never open it again. But the internet happened around 2002 for us. And there was this website called mp3.com. And it was the early days where everyone could upload their music. As long as it was an MP3, no questions asked. And I uploaded some tracks from my there. And I think there was this commentary function, like with the early forums. And some people said, yeah, this sounds kind of nice, actually, from all the crap, but this one is okay. And from that, I realized, okay, what actually people want to listen to and what I am capable of making. And from that, it just evolved into something that I could do on myself. I never played in a band because I'm not that good with any instrument, but as long as I can, same as with making games, as long as I can sit here in my own office, don't bother anyone, and with the help of my trusty friend, the computer, who can fix all my mistakes, with that, as long as I invest the time and the effort, I can make something that is nice and appealing. Same with games, same with music, same with videos. As long as I got the time and the motivation to do it, it just keeps getting better. And after 20 years of making music, I think I'm slowly starting to be at the point where I think, okay, I want to make this certain sound. I want to create this mood. And in the end, it lands there somewhere. Sometimes I want to make something that's happy or funny or energetic, and it's just dark and moody. When I want to make something dark and moody, it is dark and moody. But with something happy or action-packed or just quirky, this is the hardest for me, because I think all of us have their certain things they always fall back into their patterns when they make something creative, because it's tested, it's true, it works most of the time, and it's your starting point. And I challenge myself to really go beyond this and make something that, challenging, because there's always this opportunity for failure, and then your motivation is not going to go up once you fail like 3 times in a row creating something. So I always have to have this at the back of my head, that if it's not working, will I pull myself out of this one? And if I having a bad day, I think, probably go for what works for me, because I know it won't make my day better if I start to challenge myself and then fail completely, and then the week is is gone.
And there's one song of it that you created. I'm not lying. From time to time, the melody comes back to my mind, which is the sound you made for the game Rampage.
Oh,
It has, I think it has an accordion, right?
right.
I even commented that to you, I think on YouTube or Patreon, and I always remember that melody. It's so simple, but it always comes back to my mind.
That's thank you so much, because I didn't have a lot of time for the music and just started with the bass line and the beat, and I thought, okay, I have an hour for this. How can I make this somewhat? And I just improvised. But it's good that apparently I was lucky there, and it's memorable in a sense. But I know what you mean. I still hear it.
Yeah, most of the time, the things we improvise turn out better than the ones we think about over, right?
That's the sad part.
Yeah.
You can't plan for a success when you pour everything into a certain endeavor, and you think, okay, people are gonna love this because the chart says everyone is interested in, I don't know, pirates anymore, or at this point, and you make a pirate themed thing not because you want to, but because you think people will love it. And in the end, I think in my experience, always when you want to do something not because you love it, but because you have this angle where you think, this is going to be popular because that's right now super popular on social media or anything, and so I can cash in on that. And people have this ability to spot something that's not true from the heart. It's like when a big corporation shits out another game in a franchise where you think, it's really, this is the Ubisoft formula, essentially, where okay, people probably worked hard on this, but overall it feels like it's a cash grab product. I mean, fair enough, it's what works for big corporations. But when you feel yourself an artist and a creator, I always find out that I don't want to waste my time to look for something that's might going to be popular. No, instead, I really want to focus on what I find funny, on what's interesting to me, on what I'm passionate about. And when I watch other people's videos on YouTube, what they are super passionate about, some weird instruments like the hurdy-gurdy, it's always so interesting just to watch, because those people, they put their heart and soul into it, and it comes through in all the aspects. And this is what I realized for myself. I want to do something that I find interesting, that I'm passionate about, whatever it is. And most of the time, it involves making games.
Yeah, it's the thing, like we have to create for ourselves, right? Because otherwise,
Exactly.
if we make it for the public, we are going to either get burned out, either create something superficial, as you said, let's attack Ubisoft, because of course everything,
it's an easy target.
It's a cash grab, right? You can see, of course, that is the effort of a lot of people, but you don't feel passion. For example, recently I interviewed this lead studio that made a game called Northern Journey, and he spent 3 years making that game. And the game is not perfect, but you can feel passion in every corner of that game. It's very genuine, it's authentic. and he says that in the video, I made this game as an artistic vehicle to express, to just create something I wanted to create. And he said he didn't care whether it would take him 3 years and then it would be a complete failure. I mean, financial failure, right? But he said it's very successful, not because of financial success, but because he made what he wanted to do. So yeah, this is the most important ingredient, right?
And this is why I find indie games so interesting, because since those people are independent, they don't have to shy away from financial risks. If I'm Electronic Arts and I don't know, I want to make the next NHL game to be high fantasy, but also with romance side plots, it's going to explode in their faces. But if you're an indie developer and you pick just one or two mechanics or aspects out of the huge games that are there, because with those little aspects you can really improve upon them. You can make it so much better than a huge AAA game that tries to be everything for everyone. And we also know if you want to make a game for everyone, that it's not interesting to anyone, because it's just too shallow on so many levels. And with indie games, you can clearly see the passion for this one certain element that they want to get right. And it feels so much more interesting to play, because you never know what you get. Maybe the main menu is barely usable. You have troubles reading the font or what the game is actually about, but then you start to play it and it's this huge journey into something that you've never experienced before, and you don't know what you get. And it starts out as a first-person game, but then becomes a management game and a graphic novel at the end, and then it all ties together in some huge Final Fantasy-like ending battle. And this is just so amazing to me, how people really feed this everything that they got into their creations. And yeah, so as an audience of those games, I always find it doesn't matter how it looks or how sellable it is, because I feel with indie games, it's more a piece of art and piece of self-expression. And again, I find this much more interesting than it's just a commercial product where it says Star Wars on the top because they know it will sell.
Yeah, and this is the thing, since indie games are mostly done by one person, right? And those persons are creative, jack of all trades, just like you. I think there is a very critical thing here as well, that it's very easy to probably even get in depression if you are making something superficial or not, or being forced to do something you do not want to do, right? Because then your creative energy is drained out for something that you truly do not want to make. Like I have a lot of Van Goghs here, like behind me and here, and I'm going to use an example from Van Gogh here. Van Gogh wanted to be a peasant painter, and he was highly criticized, but he still kept doing it because he said, they do not, the current times do not understand what I'm making, and this is what I want to do because I want to feel the life of I feel the life of the peasant people, and I want to paint them because this is the life I also live in poverty and things, and a simple life. So I know this, okay, what Van Gogh has to do with this? It has everything to do with this we are talking about, right? Which is putting your own expression on things, right? Making your own things, and without caring about the critics or what other people think. Even if it gets only one download, at least you made it, right?
Yeah, he was right in the end. I mean, everyone knows Van Gogh now.
Exactly.
Yeah, the only thing is that you don't want to get into a position where you cut off your ear because you just, everyone is against you.
That's the thing, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, your videos have high production values and they are quite long, which make them even harder to produce, right? And from what you show in your making office videos and things like that, you create those videos alone, right? And what's your general process when make those videos? For example, most of your videos, at least the ones I know, are based on the game jam Ludum Dare. So let us know, like, what is your day-to-day planning while doing Ludum Dare, that you have to think about the game, about coding, about the art, about the game design, And also you have like 20 different angles where you record your videos. So yeah, I want to know like everything you do. How do you make those videos?
How does this work?
And how do you make games alongside making those videos?
For one thing is my games aren't very fun, so this helps. No, kidding aside, I managed to get it to work with practice, because I've been making postmortems now for I think 5 or 6 years. Oh my god, it's that long already. And with everyone I get better, but with everyone I want to make them better and longer than the ones before. And I probably will get into this a bit later on, where it almost broke me. But essentially, it's the hard part about making those videos is that it's not something you can script beforehand. Not entirely, at least. It's a documentary, so I don't know what my experience will be, what the main aspects of a certain postmortem will be in the end that are also interesting to watch. So my go-to is essentially to record as much as I can, and then only pick those things that emphasize the points that I want to make in the video once it's scripted. So on the jam days, a short reminder. So the Ludum Dare mode that I play in is the compo mode, which is 48 hours to make a game from scratch, from start to finish. And this is what I also film. And I'm now in the process where I about 70 to 80%, I mostly know where things are going. So I probably have a hard time with the idea. So I will probably film more when I'm having a hard time with the idea, and less when I'm in the midst of programming, because then I can't focus on anything else. So essentially it works that I film a lot of stuff before the theme gets announced, then directly when the theme gets announced, because those reaction shots of me just burying my head in my hands are my money shots. And the fun thing is, I was asked once, yeah, how often do I plan, or how often do I make this pose? And it just happens. I read something and forget all the cameras, and it's not like, oh, please, not this topic. I have no idea. And this is how it always goes. Sometimes I emphasize my emotion a little bit more when I know that the camera is running. But most of the time, I would say 90% of what I film actually happens during the jam. Then there are those 10% that are pickups, for example, just close-ups of me typing on the keyboard or the mouse, or when I'm making a certain thinking expression like this, because I only know, like I said, after the jam is done, what the story is going to be about. So I try to record as much as I can: screen recording, screenshot, time lapses, anything that I can fill in between when I don't have videos ready. I will get to how this goes in a bit. So the next process after the Ludum Dare is done, and I have had some time to rest and to think about my experience, I start to write it down, like it's just a report of what has happened and how I felt. Oh yeah, there's one important thing. I also keep this Ludum Dare jam diary while I'm programming, while I'm making my game. And essentially it just is a document on Google Docs with the timestamp where I say, day 1, 3:12 in the morning, I hate everything, I hate myself, this is not working. 5 minutes later, I think I got it now, the world is a better place. 5 minutes later, it's not working, I will kill myself now. So it's just to have this arc of how my emotions go through this, of how I experience things. Because when I first started having this diary, I just said, yeah, now I implemented this, now this is not working. But I knew all this from my Screenlabs time lapse, so it wasn't adding anything that I could work on when I was writing the script. Because this is the next part. Once I'm done with the jam and everything has settled and I have some distance to it, I start writing this entire 10-page document of what has happened. I look at the videos that I recorded, I read my diary, and then just write it down as it has happened. And then I read it through and I realize, okay, so maybe this time it was all about making something that is fun. Because of course, I set out with certain ideas. For example, I want to make a game that's unsellable, or a game that's super comedic and funny. And this is also good when I stated before what I want to do, and then I can look at how far have I reached my goal. And sometimes it's harder to pin down because I want to make something that's graphically advanced, but then I have a completely different idea and it's going to be a text adventure, and this doesn't add anything to the story. So essentially, I just go over and say, okay, so with this paragraph, I tried this thing, but it didn't work, and it's not very interesting in the entire story, so I just take it out. And then in the end, after like 5 drafts, I have the voiceover, essentially, of what everything is going to be said in the video, and then I record the voiceover, and this is going to be my scaffolding, and on top of the voiceover, I place all the video clips. And whoever has made a video like this knows that at least for half the things that you say it much longer than you have video for, or have no video at all. Especially if it's some concept that you want to talk about, you don't have video for it. Sometimes it works that I throw in a bit of my screen recording time lapse. This helps to bridge a couple of seconds, but in the end, you want something that goes with what is being said. Otherwise, if you show something completely different, people get distracted. They only look at the video, or some other people are more like podcast listeners. They just listen to what's being said, and it just goes it just drifts apart. In video terms, we have it's called, at least in German, it's called the image to sound scissors, because it goes apart like scissors, and you want to keep this close together. So I have to come up with something, and what I realized is that I can put my music making and visual effects background and also pixel art things into essentially good use, and make illustrations, little motion graphics, or just some little animations to help convey what is being said just visually, so that even if you don't listen to the sound, that you have an idea of what I'm trying to say, what is going on. And this is something, my biggest problem, I think, is because with those I'm very perfectionist, and I spend way too long, because then I'm very prone to fall into certain rabbit holes. When I want, in my last postmortem, I had this boot up sequence of a Pentium something. And I really recreated this in After Effects, essentially on a frame per frame basis, where I said, okay, what is the correct font? It's being stretched because this is good old DOS, and I found the font, I found the color. Then there is this Energy Star logo. Wouldn't it be nice if it would read unicorn? Okay, but it's 16 colors, probably because this is EGA, and so on and so on. So just from something that's like 2 or 3 seconds long, maybe it takes me a week or even longer, because I want to get those little things right. Because this is the biggest problem with me, is when I know something is not perfect, and I know that if I just put in 1 more hour, I can make it perfect, then I will go for it and do this. And this is probably the most problematic part, is my perfectionism, because as some people of my videos know, there is not for every postmortem, for every Ludum Dare jam, there is no postmortem on my YouTube playlist. The reason for this is I have recorded them all, at least those that I took part in, and I haven't come around to finishing them, because then the next Ludum Dare started, because it takes so long to finish one of those videos. And when I'm finishing early with a video, I'm just so exhausted that I think, I will get back to one of the other 3 that are currently in production, just after a period of rest, where I don't know, maybe play games or just recharge myself, or refill my creativity. Because if you're just producing all the time, you burn yourself out. And this is something that I'm working on, not burning myself out with all those creative things that I really want to make.
Yeah, I can see then that can I conclude that the making the videos themselves is actually then that you really enjoy? So since because you said you go, because for me, for example, I have even a question for you here regarding editing. I find that video editing is so boring. It takes so much time. It like takes forever to edit these videos. But and it's considering that I only do basic editing, like B-roll editing, tape cutting, audio adjustments. I never add special effects to my videos. I never do things like you do. But still, I think it takes like a year to edit a video. For example, recently I finished recording a Udemy course. Editing took more time than developing the project, recording the project, but then editing. In my editing, only like that, cut to the wrong parts, and that's it. There is no special effects. But it's so boring. But in your case, I think you enjoy it, right? Because you do all those different special effects and then color grading. What's like? How do you deal with those long editing time, like those editing procedures?
So how to make editing fun?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah. Yeah, as you said, with courses and tutorials, I know those are gruesome to edit, because even the mouse pointer, you want it to be in the right position, that people don't get distracted, and if you're moving your mouse around too much. I've also learned this the hard way, that if you want to record a course or a tutorial that's 3 minutes long, it takes you 3 hours to record.
Exactly that, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so in terms of editing, it's what helps me again is to have this entire voiceover already, so I know for how much longer I need to keep up the pace with editing. But it takes long, and I think what always helps me is when I know something, those, as you said, those visual effects bits or the joke bits that I have in between, they are essentially to cheer myself up while I'm doing editing, because I know, okay, I've been talking about this in the video for like 2.5 minutes, and I have no other videos of me just sitting at my table reading something. So this is boring to watch, it's boring to edit, and I want to make a joke or just something to break things up. And this is when I make a joke or a visual effects bit or anything, just because I think, yeah, wouldn't it be nice in that part? This is what helps me with the editing. The other thing is editing fun? In the beginning, it is, because you get all the possibilities. Then when you to a third in, you realize this is going to be a long project and you still have so much to do, and it was already so much work. This is when I think this is the hardest part. It's the slump in a project. I think everyone has this. You start out, you're so motivated to do something, and then you realize how much work there is still open to be done. And once you get to the end, it's like this home stretch. You feel like, okay, it's just 2 more minutes, and if I pour everything in there, I can get it done in a week, and then it takes 2. But truth be told, in the end, I just want it finished. I hate the project. I just want to get it done. I have this long list essentially of bugs with the edit, where I think, okay, there the color grading, it looks a bit too cool because the day is warm. There is a jump cut that doesn't work. I forgot the sound effect there. Okay, but it's a list that you can tick off and work through. But as for the part where editing is fun, I think the most fun part to edit is really when you have multiple camera angles, because when something is not working, you can switch to a different camera angle, or can even make funny montages between those angles, and it's much easier to edit out. The downside is it takes much longer to record. I only have one camera, or maybe some other cameras, but the small video cameras or the mobile phone, and I don't like mixing cameras. Probably because of my color grading background, because I always see the compression artifacts of the MP4 from the phone compared to the expensive cameras. But this is just me. But I think, in terms of editing, it's more fun if you have more to work with and more to select, because as you said, with videos where it's just one person talking or one person showing something in a course or in a tutorial, it's what you have to show. You can't switch to a different angle and see the thing from the outside. And I think maybe what I could suggest to make things more fun to edit, but again, also more time consuming to produce, is while you're doing editing, you also have a camera at the side of your monitor. When you talk directly to the people, then you can cut to this full screen camera and then back to the project. But again, more work.
It seems like there is no way around the long time long consuming time of editing, right?
Yeah, it just takes time. It just takes
So
time.
one of the videos you said it took you 400 hours, a bit more than 400 hours. Are your all of your Ludum Dare documentaries take that long, or what's the average time do you take to make them?
The average time is, I think, 150 to 200 hours.
200 hours.
The problem is, as I've said, with each one, I want to make the next one even bigger, even better. When you look at my very first postmortems, the very first one was for pressure run, and I think it was just 14 minutes or so. It wasn't scripted. I was just riffing into the microphone, and I can't listen to myself anymore because it feels so weird hearing my voice differently than how I talk nowadays. And it was very small. It didn't take me very long. Maybe, I don't know, maybe 30 hours or something. So not really long. And it was this nice little package that I put on YouTube and thought, yeah, maybe if 100 people watch it, I'm happy. But for some reason, this took off, and the next one was even bigger, and the next one still. And then I had this collaboration with Max, and because it was for 3 days, where I say in the video, in the jam, being used to just jamming for 2 days and now jamming 3 days, it almost broke me. And also doing the video editing, that was, I think, over 40 minutes, also almost broke me. And again, I always have this feeling that I'm, as I said in my latest postmortem, that I'm indebted to my audience, that they deserve to get only the very best production value from me. And even if it kills me, I'm going to deliver it to them. And sometimes I feel it almost kills me. And the problem with that is it has been a gradual process over the years where I want to make things bigger and better every time. And it just takes so much time. I had also a change in my employment status. I was working part-time, and for the last 2 years or so, I've been working full-time. And boy, you really notice it when you have no time for anything and you're just happy when you're at home and can sleep or can relax. And this also made it much harder to sustain this huge scope that I have. And so with the last postmortem, the one that's called Unstable, what a wonderful title, where I wanted to show how, because it happened to me, how everything just fell apart, because I wanted to make a game that was very good, the best game that I've ever made for the jam, and I also wanted to make the best video that I ever could in parallel to the jam, but I didn't have that much time as I had before and so many other projects, and I was just deadlocked in this situation where I thought I need to deliver, and now I'm here 12 hours after the jam has started and I don't even have an idea for a game. So no game, no video, nothing. People will be so disappointed. And this was just a huge burden on me. And when I'm thinking about it, I still get a bit sweaty because it's just this cold sweat of dread. It's like you need to hand in your term paper tomorrow. You have had half a year and you haven't written anything. And it feels a bit like that. People, my God, my supporters and audience, they are so nice. They are so understanding. I'm just so grateful that I have them. And they tell me, no, Phil, it's fine. Really, don't burn yourself out. And I'm working on this daily. Whenever I feel like, okay, I'm feeling bad now, I really should do this. But Phil, do you really want to do this right now? Not really, but the people have deserved it. The people want you to be safe and happy and want to work on it when you enjoy it. So do you want to do this? No, but I will do it anyway just to get a couple of hours done on this project. Because there was this one writer who said, I don't like writing, but I love having written. And sometimes it feels with certain, when you're at a certain point in a postmortem, it feels like this, where it's just so much of a drag and you really want it to be over with, because right now it's not a lot of fun and you really just have to stick with it because it will get fun later on when it's more complete. And I think with editing, these big video projects, it has much in common with making games. Like I said, this huge motivation in the beginning and everything is super. It goes so fast, but making everything coherent, making a menu for it, a fail state, everything that it works together, and polishing off the edges. My God, it's like 70% of the project is just those little things. And you really need to finish something to learn from it, because I think we all have, I don't know, dozens of prototypes or things that were started with the best intentions and then just went nowhere. So I think it's in your interview with Jake, he also said that it's so important, just start with something small, then make it smaller and finish it, because finishing this is the hardest part, to make something that's a little package that has a title graphic, maybe some text to put on an itch.io page, and also with videos. It's so hard to finish something.
You mentioned the advice from Jake, and like the thing of setting up a page, and then from videos you have the thumb. That step takes so much time, right? For example, for my Udemy course, because it's something I published yesterday. It took me.
Congratulations!
Thank you. That was a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's a lot of. It's 120 hours of work to create a 10 hours course. And only the description of the course and the thumb took 8 hours. So, and that's a really hard step to do. Sometimes it's more important than, that's why it's important to finish something, so you know, like, all the little detail that is involved, and then you are ready when you go in something bigger, right? And especially for bigger projects like your videos, like, if you don't finish it, like, you are throwing away all that time, but you're also not developing the practice of how all things connect together, right?
Yeah, I think it's like with everything, the more you do it, the more you get practice, and you get a gut feeling of how long certain things take. And you know when something is not working when you've done it 3 times before. When it's your first time, you have no idea to know, is this direction that I'm taking correct now, or am I just going off the rails and don't know it yet and will hit a wall in 2 weeks later on?
That's right.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Let's now talk about games and game jams. So I also said in one of my videos that I always look forward for game jams, but especially Ludum Dare, because I see some things on there. I see Ludum Dare as a way for you to test your multi-creative potential. I know that in Ludum Dare, I always think about, Phil is going to take part of this Ludum Dare, and there is a video that's coming. A cool, amazing videos coming out later. So I always look forward for Ludum Dare because of that, but especially because of, like, you can use so many abilities together. You can put them to work together at the same time, right? You have to know coding, music, drawing, everything. Even if you suck at it, you have to do it anyway. It's the thing we just mentioned, right? You learn to finish something, and you have to finish, otherwise your participation, let's say, in the game jam is a failure, right? In this case, like, when you take part of Ludum Dare, do you see it as an excuse to make videos, or do you see it as an excuse to make games, or both together, or just like me, you see it as a way, like, to unleash this creative potential that we all have?
That's a very good question. And I don't think I have an answer for it. Actually, I've never thought about it. Why am I looking forward to Ludum Dare so much? And I think it's an excuse to make a game, because I'm thinking about making games 24/7, and this is really not an understatement. When I wake up, sometimes I hear certain game music playing in my head. When I drive to work, I listen to podcasts on games or game making. At work, I listen to podcasts on games or game making, or maybe some YouTube videos playing. And even when I'm in bed, my wife is asleep, and on my phone, I read blog articles of 50 years of text game or something. And the thing is, I feel that because now that I'm full-time employed, that I don't really have time to start just a hobby small game project, because there are so many other projects that really need to be finished. There is this Ludum Dare 42 postmortem that I'm still working on, that is this huge overscoped film noir thing, which is just insane. Just to put this in perspective, in April, Ludum Dare 50 is around the corner, and there are 3, or nowadays there are just 2 events per year. So Ludum Dare 42 has been in production for 3 years, I think now. So and with videos, I feel that I can start a video whenever I want. I just don't want to. Well, maybe I got some ideas for further videos. But with games, it feels like I really need to sit down and make a game. You can't start half an hour every day to make a game, because it takes you just half an hour to get into your mindset, and especially into your code again, to really start before you get productive. And with Ludum Dare, it's more like, okay, everything, I got my time slot set aside, I got vacation booked from work, so that I know that I can recover and I can fully concentrate for just one weekend to make a game. Otherwise, like I said, it feels like, yeah, I got so many ideas for games, but then I need to start with this engine, or maybe it's better if I start with Unity, because then I could theoretically port it on the Switch, which will never happen if I don't start. And yeah, Ludum Dare really forces me to make a game, period. And the good thing is it's confined to these 48 hours. With Ludum Dare Extra now being introduced with Ludum Dare 50, I wonder how this will go, especially for not just for me, but for the entire community of Ludum Dare. But overall, for myself, it's, yeah, make a game in 48 hours, and then it's finished. Theoretically, you can still work on it, which I do, and then I abandon it. But at least at this point, I already have something that's finished. And yeah, the videos are always a very welcome outcome of this, because I like to share my learnings, my process, and I'm super passionate about the things that I find out about certain workflows. And this, I think, is also in my videos, when I tell people, yeah, it didn't work out, and then I realized, yeah, I typed the class name wrong because the file name was different to the class name, and I hope that just saves people time in the end. And also with my video making for the Ludum Dare 41 keynote, which took, I think the video was like 17 minutes, and there's over an hour of making of just for these 17 minutes, because I really wanted to show what I've learned making this video, and hopefully to inspire other people that it's really possible to make something like this on your own. And I think, yeah, this also is cool with Ludum Dare. You got this entire world, this community, but in the end, if you're playing or if you're participating in the solo category, you can do it on your own. You don't have to rely on anyone providing you the correct files in the end. It's just you, and if you fail, it's just on you, but still you're not isolated. And yeah, this is what's so great about Ludum Dare, I think.
It's great. Yeah, I identify with a lot of things you said here. I see Ludum Dare as an excuse to just put everything together, because I also think about game making like 24/7, and I never ended up creating any commercial games, because then I get carried out to another project. Then instead of making the game, I make a course about making the game, what I just did recently. But then Ludum Dare, especially, I like to take the jam like 72 hours, right? That's true. For those who don't know, it's possible to make a game in 48 hours. Then you have to do it by yourself, or 72 hours, 3 days. You can also do by yourself or with a team. I always do by myself in 3 days. And then I always use Ludum Dare as an excuse to finally place everything together I want. And I normally make like very weird games. You even played one of my games. You said, okay, this is very puzzling. Because yeah, it's a really strange experience. That's what I like to make in Ludum Dare. But then thanks to you, I also see Ludum Dare as a way to make some cool videos, because I also have 2 documentaries in my channel, because I copied from you or got inspired by you.
That's great. That's great. The more people who make videos on making games, super.
Because as that book said, like great artist is still, right? So let's steal art. It's always a good idea. But yeah, then I think like 3 days is like the perfect size to place everything together and get it done with it. I have mixed feelings about the extra one, because then if it's to work those extra time, I would prefer just to start a game that's going to be more polished in the end, right? Like a commercial game, not a jam game. But yeah, let's see how it goes. I don't know if you plan to go with the extra or the Ludum Dare extra or something.
I have no idea how this goes this time. I've thought about different options, but probably one day before the jam, I will know how it's going to happen.
Yeah, we never know, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what is your most memorable game jam participation? Like, what was like because of the game you made, because of a failure, or because of the video? Like, what was our most memorable participation?
That's really hard, because in hindsight, with the videos, always the latest video one is the best and the one that I remember the most fondly. Even now with the one that I didn't finish or didn't put out a game. But of course, there are some videos where I'm super happy about how they turned out. For example, on Headroom, the video, the game that I made with Max together, the collaboration, which was something new for me. And also the video was very fun to make. Or other people said Power MT was their favorite video. But I think personally still the first serious video that I made after Pressure Run, that was 6210 BC, where it really came everything together, where I thought, I'm not just using any music that I once made and put it underneath. No, I really compose music for this post-mortem so that it comes together as a video. And I think I fondly remember this because there is this one trip to the lake in the afternoon with the sun setting and the somber music. And I haven't been to this lake since that video, so it's 5 years or so. And this was, I feel still this time, but it wasn't too big in scope, neither the video nor the game. The game in the end was, well, overscoped. There was not a lot of game apart from just picking up objects, but the video was just big enough, I felt, to handle. And I also didn't feel for myself that I had this self-imposed pressure of making it even bigger and even better, which of course then happened. But I'm also, it maybe sounds like that I'm not a fan of making things even bigger and better for myself. Again, I really want to do this. The downside is that I'm at a point where I don't know how I can do this working alone, also with a full-time job. The other thing is that I'm very, like I said, I'm very perfectionistic in a sense. And when maybe I have other people who help me, I'm on one hand, I fear that I'm ungrateful, that I say, no, you're doing it wrong, do it my way. And they don't have any fun. Or that I'm, on the other hand, I'm too diplomatic and I say, whatever you want to do, just do it. And then I put it in there, but I know it could have been so much better for this and that reason. And the other thing is that especially now with Corona and everything, I feel a bit isolated here, and I wouldn't have that many people who would have, or who could help me at my timetable to help me with my videos or also with my games. So I completely forgot what the question was, but most memorable experience. So I think, yeah, I can't answer this. I like different experiences, different memories of different jams. And even if a jam starts out feeling like it's the same jam all over again, I have no idea. I beat myself up. Then I get something, I scramble, make it work. And it's always the same story, but there is so many different aspects to it that each and every jam and also each and every video has just develops its own certain personality.
Have you ever been satisfied with any of the announced themes? Because for those who don't know, when you are in a game jam, like you have to make a game in 48 hours or 72, there is a theme that's announced, and then you have to make a game around that theme. And at least from our videos that I saw from you, Phil, you are never satisfied with the theme. Have you ever liked one of the themes?
Yes, in fact, I think one theme, there is also in the post-mortem, where the theme was announced and I had this montage of people saying it's not shit. And I have to look it up now, which one it was. But I think it was Sacrifices Must Be Made. Maybe that one.
I remember it. Yeah, I think that's
it. Yeah, but yeah, I think there was only one. And there's also this ongoing joke. Yeah, of course, the theme sucks. Everyone knows this. This is Ludum Dare. The theme sucks, but we also make the game anyway.
Yeah, I think theme announcement is always like a big event, right? I wake up at 5 a.m. and then I'm ready to like take the time, the theme, and okay, then start taking books and to start getting reference and things like that. So far, to be honest, I always like the theme because it's always open possibilities for different research. Of course, most of the time I fail in delivering something, but at least it opens for possibilities, right?
Yeah, I think my problem is maybe it's a bit too open-ended for me because I need certain limitations. For example, I have a strong tendency to overthink things, which comes off in my videos when the theme is, yeah, I don't know, sacrifices must be made. I would go on Wikipedia as everyone and sacrifice. Then I look into historical sacrifices. What do sacrifices mean? Okay, philosophy. What are sacrifices in philosophy? Is there an interesting angle? How have retro games took this example? Could I make something that's, because with retro games, this is the good thing. It's possible to do this by yourself in 2 days, recreate something from the 80s or so nowadays. So this is why I always look for inspiration with old games, because the mechanics are so simple and so defined that it's easier to get inspired from this. But again, then after 12 hours, I have all this knowledge and I really want to make something a game that can only it only fits this theme. If for example, if the theme is an unconventional weapon and you make a shooter, but you shoot strawberries, it's not really that unconventional because the gameplay is the same. The mechanics are the same. So I always feel that I need to try harder and make it better, fit the theme, that the mechanics are an integral part of the theme. And this, like I said, it almost breaks me because the time you spend coming up with the idea is time not working on the program, and you need time to program. And especially for myself, I always know that in the end, I don't test enough, and I don't come to a point where it's actually game design. It's mostly just making it work, that it doesn't crash, that it has a fail state, a start state, or a win state. But the actual design, for example, level design, what makes an interesting level, I feel for myself, this is something, it's a skill that I have is super underdeveloped, because with my games, I never came to a point where I said, okay, now let's think about everything is in place. Now let's think about making interesting choices for the player from the mechanics I provide them with. I spend most of my time making a moody title graphic. And I think this is something that I want to work with for myself in the upcoming jams. Knock on wood. Let's see how this goes. But to completely go off the rails on your question and come down to, I think it's most important with the not postmortems. It's most important with game jams that you set out a goal for yourself that you want to achieve. Even if it's just one aspect, I want to write cleaner code. I want to make better sounds. I want to make something that can be played by anyone with one hand, or just anything like that. Just to give yourself, if the theme is too broad, maybe some more limitations, because like I said, for myself, I work better when the limitations are a bit more closer than when it's just too open-ended.
Yeah, those are very good points. Although I said that I really like all the themes because to explore the possibilities, I also end up falling in one rabbit hole of exploring the theme forever, because I never accepted, okay, but I can't do a shooter, I can't do a platformer.
Yeah,
in the end, to be honest, most game jams I give up. I never finish something, or I do not even get started because I spend 2 days thinking about the ideas and the theme. But I like the exploration of the idea and the theme. For example, my game you played, that's it's called Kalmaru Kaiju. Wow, that game has meditation, Buddhism, and has Maori mythology, and then you have to destroy and seed the planets. And I said, come on, I can't make a simple shooter. In the end, there's no gameplay at all because I always think, no, I can't make a platforms like everyone else. Then the other game I finally managed to publish. It's like it has like thousands of lines of texts because it's a museum, but then there's no gameplay either. You have just explore. The other one is a game about Van Gogh, but I also just text, because then I can't accept myself to just implement a simple mechanic, but this is what people want, right? And then by learning from lessons that I got even from Slid Studio in Northern Johnny, just do not try to innovate, just try to make something genuine, right? Something authentic, and that's it, right? But maybe that's easier said than done, but I'll try to do that as well in the next Ludum Dare, like something authentic, but without trying to innovate, because I always start to innovate and then end up not making anything.
I think this is the artist's dilemma. I so much know what you're talking about, because with everything, I could make it a shooter, but there are so many shooters out there. I need to find my own twist on it, and then you get lost. This is in my keynote for Ludum Dare 41. That's inspiration. I wrote the script. It wrote itself within 2 days. Or so. It's about finding inspiration when you feel everything has been done before. And the point that I made at the end is, of course, everything has been done before, but not from you with your own perspective on things. And I've been accused of preaching one thing and doing the other, because I can't live up to this, because even though I say people, just put your own spin on it and you'll be fine. And I can't accept this for myself. So it feels a bit hypocritical that I'm telling people, don't worry. But I do worry. So, but in the end, every person is different, and I just really hope that the more viewpoints you hear of people of their creative process and their journeys. This is why I find it so interesting of other people just showing in videos or just talking about how they approach the same problem of making a game in 48 or 72 hours, because everyone is different, and it's when something doesn't work for you, maybe you find something that works for you just from exposure to different viewpoints. I feel for myself that I still don't have quite a handle on how to tackle game jams after participating in dozens of them. As with the ideas, like I said, it's 12 hours, sometimes even longer, without an idea, and I need somehow to get a grip where I say, okay, I need a process for myself to know, okay, it's not going to be the best one, but how can I turn this into something that's me and also interesting? But now comes a different part of this, is because when you think, I just make a shooter. For myself, I get bogged down by all the affordances that are already in the genre. For example, if I make, let's say, a top-down exploration game or something, then I feel, okay, people probably want to talk to NPCs, so I need to make a messaging system or a conversation system with multiple choices. Then maybe they want an inventory system. My God, coding an inventory system in 2 days. Then they probably want to, probably not for a jam, but they want to change the screen resolution, or change just the volume of the audio, or want to turn on subtitles. And in the end, I just get bogged down by all things that are expected of games nowadays, because I'm working on a game, or have been working on a game that's of my Ludum Dare game Decentris, that is this tunnel making Tetris game where you just drill down with Tetris blocks. And I wanted to make this a commercial game. And for 2 months, I just made the title menu. And I feel like if I can't provide players with sliders for screen resolution, I will die. And I haven't worked on the game mechanics at all. They're still the same mechanics as in the jam, with all flaws and everything. But the title menu, at least it looks nice. And I think this is something that I have to work on myself. It's that it's an indie game. People can't expect the same quality of a Naughty Dog game where you have hundreds of settings in the menus. Then comes along a game like Vampire Survivors that launches in a window. And usually it's like, okay, a game launches in a window. Oh, this is going to be crap, isn't it? But then again, it launches in a window. It look horrible, but the gameplay is there. And the good thing is, I think, that especially if you're an indie and you want to release a commercial game, always the question is, how much can you charge for it? And of course, the nicer it looks, this is also what Jake Burkett said with his games. He spends a lot of money and resources on making them look nice, in terms of outsourcing to graphical artists, because it's the graphics, the visual presentation that draws people in, and the game mechanics keep them hooked, right? And I feel that if it just looks nice enough, then I can can ask people money for it. But then again, I feel bad because maybe my systems are not as developed, and can I really charge €1.99 for it? Maybe €1.49. And so this is probably the reason why, personally, I have released only one commercial game on Steam, and ever since felt that whatever idea for other games that I have, they aren't big enough. I don't want to have sliders for field of view or things like that. So all the things surrounding it, achievements, leaderboards, and all these kinds of stuff, that really turns me off. And just looking at Vampire Survivors has none of these things, doesn't ask for a lot of money, pure gameplay, and it's fine. Really, it's fine. So yeah, this is something that I have to work on.
Yeah, now that we are back at this subject of releasing perfect or not, I want to praise Northern Jordan again, and in Z Studio, actually, Oyster, because what he did was exactly that. Even although he invested 3 years in that game, he wanted to make a game with his identity, his art, something that came out of his mind, exploring the Norwegian nature. But the game is still flawed, but even still he released it. The game is authentic, and he has released more than 60 patches in Steam. So it doesn't matter if you release with a field of view slider or resolution. You can, as long as it is authentic, and as you said, even with Vampire Survivors, as long as you can play it, as long as it's authentic, I don't think people care. Of course, there will be that guy, okay, but I want to change the resolution. But okay, 1 month later, you release a simple checkbox just to change the resolution, right? And then and then with time, just like then Jake said, with time you build a framework that you can just copy and paste and reuse it for each new game you release it, right? For example, you have your game on Steam, right? Maybe you could reuse some things from there regarding the framework, and then plug and play in another game. For example, for example, connecting to achievements and things like that. Yeah.
Ideally, yes. The problem with myself is, like I said, everything is self-taught. And whenever I start a new project, I don't know how many times I've coded collision, and every time it's different, and every time it's better than before. Because ideally it is said, okay, you make a prototype, explore all the mechanics, and then you design a game and start it from scratch. And with my game that's on Steam, the first room in GameMaker is still called Game Proto, where the entire game plays. So you can clearly see that I didn't take this advice and build everything on top of this prototype. And the code is a mess. And when I changed to the DirectX 9, or was it 10 version of the newest GameMaker, and had to port everything over to the new, with my code, I thought I will never do this again in this code base. And this is why I haven't released any patches or updates or anything, because at a certain point, you really don't want to look at this mess anymore, and you want to start with a clean slate. And then you work on it for 2 years, and the beautiful code that you want to start with is already old and buggy, and you don't want to look at it again. And this is also, again, like you said, the problem is that probably only 1 or 2 persons who are super vocal about what they don't like about your game. And again, it's your baby, and I feel so protective of it. And I said, oh my God, I got 10 nice reviews, but this one review really hates it, and I have to fix everything. And also at a certain point, when you've released the game, you're just, with my videos, the good thing is you can't patch a video, by the way. I'm just done with it. I'm so grateful that it's out there and it's done. When you release a game, especially if it's something like early access, you're not done. It's just one step of the journey, because now you're in big trouble, because you've charged people money for it, and you need to maintain it, and you need to make sure that they get their money's worth. And also, if there are any things that are wrong with it, bugs, glitches, errors, exploits, that you fix them. And I felt for myself that, do I really want to do this? Again, because with my game that's Finesweeper, it's just a minesweeper with just some levels and achievements. It was just something that I wanted to play, because I felt that, there aren't any enough Minesweeper variants for my own liking. So I made this Minesweeper game. And I thought, yeah, it's going to be an arcade experience. You just play how many levels you manage to, and then you get a high score and you're done. First day, people said, I want a save system. And I thought, oh my God, how am I going to put a save system in there? And it was just 2 days without much sleep. And I was just constantly on the edge. Just, I think, oh my God, I'm having a nervous breakdown now because people are waiting on it. They're just complaining in the forums and everyone is saying, oh my God, what's wrong with this developer? And I'm working on just trying to make a save system work. And then you release the save system. And of course, it's super buggy. The save states get eaten by the latest updates and everything is even worse than it was before. In the end, somehow I managed to get it done, but I realized for myself, I don't want to go through this again. And I think this is probably what is stopping me from releasing another game, at least on Steam, because I feel I can't take this anymore. If another person complains that there is no field of view slider, I just die. Yeah, but again, this is just me, and it's something that I have to work on because, as you said, there are probably many people who like your game. You feel it's just perfectly acceptable, but there is just this one person, and if in most cases, if you look at the other reviews this one person has written, it's all the same thing. Yeah. They complain about field of view sliders in the latest, I don't know, graphic novels or something. It's just what this person is super interested in. So if there is a 120 FPS frame lock on your text adventure, you're going to get a bad review from this person.
That's right. Yeah, the thing you mentioned, like only by the thought of anticipating everything that comes with releasing something, in this case the game, and the side of managing all those details, yeah, you end up not even getting started to not get into that rabbit hole, right? Yeah,
exactly.
The thing, like I have already all the knowledge and expertise to release games as well. But the thing that makes me like really gives me a lot of anxiety is thinking about all the marketing and the maintenance that comes afterward.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
That's one of the things that's why I also like game jams, because there is no, of course you can post about your game in the website, but that's it, right? There's no maintenance, there is no marketing. It's this is the thing that's it's normally overlooked also when we think about making your game, right?
Exactly. This marketing and writing a short description, a long description, features. And I think the hardest part to write about your game is this one sentence that's underneath Steam, because you need to cram everything. Yeah, it takes hours to write this one sentence.
Yeah, the elevator pitch is the hardest part. Even recently, even if you're writing a YouTube video description, like a Udemy course, I have to write a one line. I felt, come on, the course has 10 hours. It covers 100 topics. How am I going to write a single line? But yeah, it eats you alive, and then you have to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
1 year later, I just watched your video. Special thanks to my support, because I was also your patron for some time. And then I really liked it when you said programming is hard, especially in Erlang, unless you are as cool as John Sterling. Why do I mention that? Because that's very exotic, because I am an Erlang and Elixir developer full time. So I found it really curious that you mentioned Erlang in your video. Like, is that because John Sterling is an Erlang programmer, your patron, or is because you researched something that was rhyming with his name, and then you mentioned Erlang?
Yeah, the latter part. I had Sterling and I needed to match something with it. But then, of course, I'm just a sponge when it comes to making games and programming and everything. So I've stumbled across Erlang on Prolog and Rust. So somehow those were still floating around, and I know that I probably will never get to program in Erlang. But again, I'm just super fascinated with the different programming languages that are out there for very specific cases. In Erlang, I think I've once saw this "Let It Go" meme, but it was "Let It Crash."
Let it crash. Yes, that's the philosophy too. Because I develop full time. Even today, I was developing with Erlang. The philosophy is "Let It Crash." It's very exotic. That's why I found it very curious that you mentioned it in the video.
Yeah, Erlang, Haskell, Prolog, like I said,
Haskell is even worse. Yes, I won't even get started with that. Yeah. And then in that video, also mentioned my name, and then
Yes.
I think it was the first time I heard someone saying my name in German. Because can you pronounce it again so we can say
Yes,
my
of
name
course.
with a German pronunciation, please?
I'll try my best. Alfred Reinhold Baudisch.
Wow, that's really beautiful. I never heard like that. But my name is German. My family is German, but only as descendant of a German. Nobody's actually from Germany. So yeah, our names are names like that. So yeah, thanks for.
How do you pronounce your name? Now I'm curious.
Let's see how do you compare with a German pronunciation? Alfred Reinhold Baudisch.
Perfect. Yeah.
But it has nothing to do with German, right? The way I said, it's more English, right? Yeah.
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 I mean, your name is how you pronounce it. So
yeah, that's right. Especially in Brazil, everyone says Alfred Reinhold Baudisch. So yeah, very Brazilian way of saying it. Or Baudisch, very differently.
Oh, nice.
Two questions that you can, that are only curiosity, you can answer with a single line or a single word or whatever you prefer. So
my God, I hope I can be that short.
It's up to you. It's just because if you have your time constraints, I'm fine with that. So, what's your favorite DAW program? So, Digital Audio Workstation.
I like Reaper very much. I think I use Reaper for pretty much everything that's not just music. When it's only music, I love Reason. This is because for all the synths, I got so many Reason instruments there. But then again, if I need something that's a bit also has to do with words or spoken things or more filter effects, then I use Reaper. It's super affordable, and there's an update like every other week or so. And I'm super happy with how much you can customize it and script it. It's amazing.
It's they are made by a small company, right? And that
yes.
I bought it. Yeah, I still do not. I only made music with like this with my MIDI keyboard. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I bought Reaper because of how affordable it was. I have no idea how to use that. So
the cool thing about Reaper is it starts super fast, like it's seconds, and something when you start Photoshop, no matter what computer you have, it takes half a minute.
That's right.
And the other cool thing about Reaper is the project files are in ASCII, so you can just open them in text editor. And even if you want to code your own tools for Reaper, it's super easy. So it's the programmer's choice for digital audio workstations.
Yeah, that's what drove me to it. Like, no matter how powerful computer you have, I always like things to open instant. So Reaper was the fastest one.
Yeah.
Even faster than LMMS, which is open source, which is also, LMMS is also super fast, right? But it's slower. Okay, what's your favorite video editing program?
Favorite, I would say, is Adobe Premiere, probably because I've been using it for over 20 years now. And I just know my way around Premiere. The downside of Premiere is it costs money, it's proprietary from Adobe, and it's super buggy in certain things. What I would suggest others is probably to start editing with DaVinci Blackmagic Resolve, because there's a free version out, and even if you buy the full version, by the way, this is also the tool that I use at work to do color grading. I mean, many big feature films are color graded with DaVinci Resolve, so it's super powerful. You can also do audio stuff in there, and like I said, in the studio version, it doesn't cost much. The downside is, again, it's proprietary. The upside is it works on Windows, Mac, and Linux. And another downside is that you can't really change how the UI looks. If you want to have like 300 bins with your source footage, it's not going to work. The timeline is always there. The bins are always there. The monitors are always there. But again, if you're starting out, it has pretty much everything that you would expect of an editing solution. And if you just want to get things quickly done, there's even the cut room inside there. So it's where you just say, yeah, I want this clip, and that clip. So you really don't have to be a professional editor to find your way around it. So I strongly can suggest, Resolve. Everything starts with Reason, Reaper, Resolve.
I think you answered this other question during the interview, but I'm going to ask anyway. What's your favorite game engine?
Favorite game engine? Yeah, also for myself, it depends. I like GameMaker. I like GameMaker because it's the one that I started with. Then I also like Unity, but not as much because with Unity, I'm always this close on just crying because it's so complex. Then I look at Unreal and think I'm this close to crying because it looks so beautiful. But then it's C++, and then I'm crying again. So it really depends. But for 2D games, I would use GameMaker. I think I'm still using GameMaker, but now since GameMaker is part of Opera and they've switched to a subscription model, and we all love subscription models. I mean, I'm still on the legacy plan, but for how long? So yeah, for 3D games or everything, yeah, first person, excuse me, for everything that's maybe first person based, I would go for Unity. Then, of course, I have a very soft spot for interactive fiction and text adventures, and Twine has been a lot of fun for me. And finally, of course, there are those very special purpose game engines that I can recommend. For example, RPG Maker, or even this Rampage Python visual novel maker, if people are interested in that. So again, I think the cool thing about nowadays is there are so many options and possibilities out there. So, for example, Love 2D or Construct or Godot has been up and coming. It's huge with Godot. So if you got Blender, if you got Godot, if you got other open source software, you can do pretty much everything that. If you have the skill and the time, you can do pretty much, I think, anything now with open source as well. So, which is great because making games, I mean, I'm in a good position where I can afford all the tools that I need. But if you're just in school or a student, don't have much money and really want to make games, but it's just, like I said, Photoshop and the Adobe Creative Cloud, it costs 60 euros a month, which I think is quite steep. So if you don't have income, this is just prohibitively expensive. So, and this is the cool thing, is that there are so many options nowadays.
May I make two suggestions here? You said sometimes Unity make you want to cry, and
Yes.
because the Unity is kind of a sandbox, right? It comes empty. You have to do everything from scratch, and you have to do with code. But then Unreal 4, you don't actually need to use C++ with Unreal 4. You can do everything
Oh, the
just with
blueprints.
the blueprints, and I'm gonna say this name again, but Northern John and other guys I thought they only used Blueprint, and they made a full game, commercial games. And blueprints have everything like out of the box for you, and then of course you can customize as much as you want. And yeah, nowadays your Unreal Engine even runs on lower specs computer. So yeah, for those who do not want to code, for 3D, Unreal seems like a really good option, especially due to blueprints. And of course, the engine of my heart, which is Godot. Even my course recently released is creating a dynamic inventory system with Godot. And Godot, if Godot is code based, it has visual scripting, but I'm going to say it sucks. So the JavaScript language is very concise and it's very flexible. Like you can commit a lot of mistakes. I think it's similar to what game makers, that you will commit a lot of mistakes. You do not need to be like a good programmer. You can just paste things together. So yeah, Godot engine is also, as you said, if you want. It's free, open source. It's good for 2D games, 3D games, and applications, everything, right? So there's many possibilities out there. But for you specifically, that you said the Unity, I would really recommend give you another chance to Unreal if possible.
Yeah, Unreal, I really like the graphics with Unreal.
Yeah,
I mean, just out of the box, it just looks so good.
Yeah, that's right.
With Unity and the high definition render pipeline, I've also have done some experiments with volume, fog, and lights. And I mean, I feel that if I can really afford the time to make nice models and textures and everything, I can make it look super cool in Unity. But with Unreal, I'm just, yeah, like I said, I'm this close to crying just because I know of the complexity with Unity. What always is my example is that I just want a simple animation of a door opening. And it says, yeah, you need an animation controller and animation clip, and then hook up the animation state machine. I think, oh my God.
That's right. Unit is very flexible, but that's the problem as well. It's very flexible, but it's just a sandbox. It comes empty. Like you have to do everything from scratch, or you have to buy assets from the asset store, right? And everything is by code from scratch. So you are either already is a good programmer, or you buy assets for everything, right?
Yeah, but like I said, everything is you have to make everything yourself. The cool thing I still like about Unity so much is the canvas system for user interfaces.
Yeah, that's amazing, right?
Because with GameMaker, you have nothing. You have, when you want a button, you have to code it yourself. Yeah. When you want a dialog box, you have to code it yourself. And of course, there are also frameworks out there, but personally, I'm not a fan of frameworks because I want to understand everything what's going on. And when using frameworks or stuff from the asset store, my God, I've been burned so bad when using when getting things from the asset store. Maybe it was just so far I've only been using free assets. Maybe that was the problem. But you're never sure what their philosophy is when texturing something. When you think, oh my God, it's 10,000 little files for one model, why not use one big texture?
Yeah.
Or it has 12 million polygons, but it's a cube or something. And you always feel like, okay, I can use the model, and now I model myself in Maya. I'm a Maya guy. I use the model and just use it as a reference, and essentially just use it as a template and paint my polygons over it and use the texture as a reference. And in the end, cool, I got something from the asset store, and now I'm spending twice as much time to make it work in my game. So, but again, I like to do everything myself. And for other people, especially if you're making prototypes, even if it doesn't look coherent, I mean, whatever makes it for you to iterate faster in the end. And I think this is super, super important. Yeah.
Okay. As a close, two final questions. Like you said, even although you said you think you do not finish games on Game Jams, but I think you actually have a proven track of finished games. Like if we go to your account on Ludum Dare, there's probably 10 games there. So what's your tip for someone that wants to start making games today? Like what thing you would say, like, to start right away? What this person should focus or should try to do?
Good question. I think focus on what you can do best. So if you're good with programming, do something. Maybe I'm not saying just make a text game, but it could work as a text game, or with placeholder graphics. Just anything that you can. If you have someone who you know who does good graphics, where just say, okay, these gray boxes need to look like a button or something, that you can swap it out in the end. But I think, the good old things is start small, then even smaller, and finish something. So I think the best thing to do is, if you start a game, when nothing is there, the game should start on a title screen. Then you should have a screen where the game will be, and an ending screen and a winning screen. And I think once you get the ending condition and the winning condition hooked up, everything else, I mean, you always got somewhat of a finished game already whenever you will stop. Because I feel this is how some people start out. They make, for example, as with myself, the main menu is super pretty. Then you hit game and it's full of placeholders, and then it crashes because all the effort went into the first thing that you see with the game. And again, this is what I'm guilty of. Is my main menu looks amazing. All the buttons have little, I don't know, sparkle effects. And the game, then after 2 weeks, my interest ran out on the game itself. So again, the game comes first, winning condition, losing condition. This is, I think, most important because otherwise, it's never finished, right? And so you have already a finished template, and then you can just adding and trying things. So this would be my recommendation.
Nice. Any other closing words?
Thank you so much if you're still listening to this, and I hope you have a great time making games, playing games, or just thinking about games.
Thanks a lot, Phil. It was very nice to have you here. It was very nice to finally talk with you. And it
has been a pleasure for me as well. Thank you.
I see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.